It's time for another closed beta review video. I got into the closed beta of The First Descendant, a game developed and published by Nexon. Now, me and Nexon actually have a relatively deep history. I've been playing Nexon games all the way back since MapleStory. This was back around the time when Gaia Online was still all the rage, and it was pretty common to spend hours playing browser games.
Invaders from the other world.
With that being said, though, Nexon's games have always sort of been
Destroyed everything.
relatively simple as far as visuals, and all of the trailers and promotional materials for The First Descendant kind of pushed it as a next-gen live service sort of game, which is something that I didn't really have a whole lot of faith that Nexon could pull off. After all, Nexon has a graveyard that's about as populated as EA's, with dead live service games that run the gambit of shooters, MMOs, side-scrollers, all sorts of junk. So me and a good friend of mine were talking about how the servers and infrastructure of this game are probably going to be a mess, starting with the closed beta. And I have to say, good job, Nexon. I only experienced one crash, and I haven't had any sort of disconnects. I usually have to take a lot of time out of a video to express my frustration and the tainted first impression that I get with a game because of its server instability. But I don't have to do that this time. I was able to load into the game, watch the introduction cutscene, kind of explaining the world and the plot, and I reached a screen where you select one of 3 descendants, this game's version of hero archetypes. There's your boring everyman with a fire grenade and a grenade launcher arm. You have an ice lady who freezes her targets, and you have your beefcake tank boy who puts up shields. Pretty standard stuff. The game is a third-person shooter with your standard hero shooter abilities, so you've got Q, C, V, and I think Z is like your ultimate or something like that. Your loot comes in the form of various guns with increased stats and modifiers, and you also pick up runes that you can equip to add additional modifiers to each of your guns. You can equip up to 3. The gun types that I was able to encounter so far were an assault rifle, a scout rifle, and a shotgun. I don't have anything particularly good or bad to say about the combat. There are some instances where it's snappy and responsive, but there are also some things that I noticed that the abilities don't have any sort of real feedback, so it leaves the powers feeling kind of not useless, but they don't have any sort of impact. There's no oomph to them. You kind of use them and something happens at the enemy, usually a bunch of particle effects and some damage over time. There's no real screen shake. I don't know what I would do to increase the satisfaction of using the abilities, but I'm getting the impression that until you reach something like late game or bosses, you could probably get away with not using the abilities at all, and that's not really good. Also, the shotgun is incredibly slow, and it doesn't act like you would expect a shotgun in this sort of game to work. But overall, I think that the combat is relatively inoffensive. Like, it feels better to play than, say, I don't even have games to compare it to really, but the combat itself is something that I could see myself coming back to, but it's also nothing to write home about. As far as character customizations, I was very, very disappointed. I didn't see any options to change anything about the way that your particular character looks, which is a problem because when you reach the hub world, literally everyone looks the exact same. There's no variation in colors or anything. Like, if you see an ice lady, she looks the exact same as the next one that you'll see. Same with the tank, same with the soldier boy.
Why would I exit?
I know that this is probably where they're going to add in the monetization and the skins because there is a menu for it, but the fact that there's not even a way to like preview what there is
Can you hear me?
or what there's going to be is kind of
Signal. This
concerning.
conversation won't be heard or recorded by anyone else.
The world itself appears to be doing something similar to what Destiny does.
Get to that later.
You go and you're exploring a relatively open map with these different mission nodes that you can activate to trigger a mission. And you just navigate through the open environment to those different objectives as they appear.
Can you take on another mission? We have to install some new detectors.
These missions so far have ranged from go to the place and shoot the enemy to go to the place and defend a machine or survive a gauntlet, find the enemy boss and kill them. And I imagine that there's going to be quite a bit more variety based off of what I was able to see on the open world map. So, honestly, kudos. Big kudos, because I was expecting the gameplay to get very repetitive very quickly, and that didn't happen either. Now, as far as longevity goes, I think that if they can continue to add missions and vary up the environments, people will be happy enough with the primary gameplay loop, because the moment-to-moment shooting is quick. It doesn't have the impact that you want it to have, but all in all, I'd say that they're onto something here. I'm not sure if this is supposed to be a free-to-play game or not, but I think if it is free-to-play, I'll be able to give it a pretty good recommendation when it comes out officially. The closed beta is set to last from today, October 20th, until the 26th. So, if you can, go to Steam and sign up and see if you get invited and give it a try. I went in with incredibly low expectations because you know me, I always have to tank my expectations with this sort of thing. And, you know, this and Gundam Evolution have been very pleasant surprises. So yeah, let me know what you think from the gameplay that you've seen so far down in the comments below. If you happen to have tried it yourself, let me know your thoughts as well. And I will see you in another video. As always, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in another video. Bye bye.